Helen Clark is the administrator, that is to say the executive director of UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, and she's thrown her hat into the ring for the job of Secretary General of the United Nations. She was, once upon a time, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. She's done a good job as head of UNDP, and she is undoubtedly an estimable candidate. Irina Bokova is the Director General of UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. What a mouthful. And she too has thrown her hat into the ring for the job of Secretary General of the United Nations. She used to be Foreign Minister of Bulgaria and then a diplomat from Bulgaria, and she's done, on all accounts, a reasonable job as head of UNESCO, and she's undoubtedly an estimable candidate. It's good to have such two strong women candidates, there will be others for sure, at a moment when women are being considered as candidates for Secretary General for the first time in 70 years. Because you see, for 70 years, it's all been men. 8 men. 2 of whom have been quite distinguished, Dag Hammarskjöld from Sweden and Kofi Annan from Ghana. The other 6 have ranged in quality from nondescript to incompetent to supernaturally arrogant, and one of them, Kurt Waldheim, was a Nazi sympathizer. Go figure. So it's wonderful to be contemplating a woman Secretary General, and that happens at the end of this year when Ban Ki-moon releases his tenure. Ban Ki-moon may be the sweetest man on the planet, but I have to say, and I'm choosing my words carefully, that he has been astonishingly inadequate. And everyone in the entire multilateral and UN system knows it. And he leaves a scarred and compromised legacy. He talks often of gender equality, but if you look at the senior positions in the United Nations at the level of Assistant Secretaries General and Under-Secretaries General, only about 20 to 23% are filled by women. How's that gender equality? During his tenure, during his time on the job, the terrible cholera epidemic hit Haiti, spread by United Nations peacekeepers from Nepal. Over 10,000 people have died. 750,000 have been infected. Ban Ki-moon hides behind the principle of immunity and refuses to contemplate compensation or reparations of any kind for the bereaved families. And now the issue which grips the United Nations everywhere you go, the sexual exploitation and abuse committed by United Nations peacekeepers in various peacekeeping operations. Ban Ki-moon has pretended to a principle of zero tolerance. That principle has been reduced to travesty because of his inability to cope with what is going on in those patterns of sexual violence. No, this is not a legacy to be proud of. His tenure ends on December 31st, and I would predict that on January the 1st, 2017, he will be forgotten. So we may well get a woman Secretary General, and the whole context has changed. Now the candidates can be nominated by the member states in the General Assembly. And over the next number of weeks, there will be question and answer sessions where the various candidates will answer questions that will obviously be very soft and lobbed gently in their direction, but we will at least learn something about who they are and what they are. However, and here's the rub, the decision won't be made by the 193 states of the General Assembly. The decision will be made by the 5 permanent members of the Security Council with veto power. As a matter of fact, the decision will actually be made in an understanding, an agreement between the United States and Russia, regardless of who is recommended. It was ever thus, and it is ever thus. That was last week. I'm Stephen Lewis.